You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies. Hello and welcome to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast on Rocky Mountain Rooftop, proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Evan Lang, and with me, as always, who I just found out does not like Pokemon, it's Skyler Timmons.
Nope, I do not like it. I have no real interest in it.
What don't you like about Pokemons?
Everything.
You don't like little animals?
No, because it goes back to my I do not like turn-based combat in video games.
See that? Okay, that would do it. Especially considering that they're still basically turn-based combat all these years later.
Yeah, I don't like it.
He plays grown-up games like President Weevil 9.
And Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Oh, banana.
Mm-hmm.
But we got a full show for you today. Hope everybody is doing well. I only have one thing that I want to talk about when it comes to Colorado sports, and that is the elation that one Nazem Kadri is back in the fold for the Colorado Avalanche. We got the band back together. The number 91 sweater fits like a glove.
I thought it fits like a jersey.
Yeah, it fits like a sweater. But if the sweater was a glove, it would fit like a glove.
I see. And how do the gloves fit?
Like sweaters, surprisingly. But yeah. Let's go ahead and go ahead.
I just need to see that news, because it was a roller coaster for everybody. Because the deal was in place, but then it got nixed by the Flames ownership, and then we're like, oh, no, that's probably not happening. It would have been cool. And then I just barely talked to my brother about it too. I'm like, they almost had Kadri, and then news breaks later, and like, oh snap, they got it done.
Yeah, it was something like it got vetoed by Calgary ownership because they didn't like how much they were having to retain or something like that. And so the Avs went out and they got Nick Waugh. And then I forget what I was doing at the time, but I pulled up my phone and someone's blowing up my phone going, Kadri's back. And I'm like, what? No, he's not. We've been over this. And then I look it up, and indeed, Kadri is back with Calgary retaining 20% of his salary. And that's not bad. And it's nice to have him back, which is good because we're facing another spate of injuries again with Landeskog took a puck to the nuts the other night, and Lehkonen is out for a little bit.
Yeah. And hey, but what's cool is that always stinks when you have to give up a bunch of first round picks throughout the course of trading guys. Making trades, but no, overall they didn't really disrupt the roster at all, in a sense, and they just added to it. So nice little deadline for the Avs. What would be the Rockies equivalent of the Kadri trade?
Bringing back Nolan Arenado, basically.
I thought about that, or they trade for Trevor Story again.
Yeah, so one of those, basically a former Rocky who is important in those 2017 and 2018 runs. But of course, the amount of time between the two is totally different. But with Kadri, he was such a meaningful part of that Stanley Cup run. And I don't really mind giving up the picks because when you're in cup contention mode, the picks don't really matter. Mm-hmm. It's about who is, yes, you want to have prospects. You want to have someone healthy farm system. But at the same time, what matters more is the product on the ice right now. And the Avs really didn't give up that much. They gave up Victor Olofsson, who's started hot, but has really cooled off over the last few months, and a couple picks. And the big thing was the salary retention.
So you're telling me it's important for a team that wants to contend to not just hoard their prospect type things.
Don't tell Bill Schmidt and Jeff Bridich or Dick Monfort. Speaking of hoarded prospects, shout out to poor Brendan Rodgers, who is going to need shoulder surgery again after a diving play with Red Sox camp. Very similar to when he needed shoulder surgery a couple of years ago with the Rockies. And I feel so bad. This is just a guy who cannot catch a break whatsoever.
Nope. It's just what happens. Body made of glass, unfortunately. And baseball
Yeah.
did not forge it in flame.
Yeah, it's a bummer. But, this is not a Boston Red Sox podcast. It's not a Colorado Avalanche podcast, despite how much I would like it to be sometimes. We're here to talk about the Colorado Rockies, and we're here to talk about baseball. And Skyler, you been watching any of this World Baseball Classic thingy they've got going on right now?
No, actually, no, not really.
Oh, see
I caught a few innings of like the U.S. versus Brazil game. That's been about it.
that was not the answer I was expecting, and I was hoping
Hey,
for.
I'm a busy individual. I don't have time to sit there and watch these games in the middle of the night.
Yes, but Skyler, what's the number one rule of improv?
No, but
No, it's yes and. You can't just shut me down like that.
Again. Yes, I've watched pitches of it.
You have watched literally minutes of World Baseball Classic action.
I have seen numbers of updates of box scores and clips on social media.
I have seen at least one at bat.
It's true. But yeah, it's just a weird time because I've been busy this weekend, so
I feel you. Thankfully, I have not been busy, and I have been trying to watch as much of the World Baseball Classic as I possibly can, bolstered by the fact that I could not sleep last night, and eventually, after the time skip for daylight savings time, just decided, well, this is clearly not happening, so let's watch some 4 a.m. baseball of Japan versus Australia in the World Baseball Classic. And it just so happens, Skyler, that the starting pitcher for Samurai Japan for that game was one Tomoyuki Sugano.
What?
And it was really interesting because this is really the first time since he joined the Rockies earlier this offseason that anyone's really gotten to see him pitch. He has not pitched in any spring training games because Samurai Japan, as well as some of the other Asian teams, host their camps back in their home countries. And so shortly after spring training started, Sugano was back in Japan and out of Rockies camp.
He signed his deal, showed up for pitchers and catchers reporting, threw a bullpen, and then left.
Got a couple pictures taken with his high-waisted pants.
Oversized pants.
Oversized pants that he is still wearing in the World Baseball Classic, by the way. So I suppose that is just a choice.
So those are just his pants. We're thought he hasn't gotten they haven't gotten his normal size pants yet.
No, these are his normal size pants.
Oh.
He's just a large pantsed individual.
Yeah, good for him.
Hey, whatever makes you comfy. I'm one of those people where it's like, for pitchers, don't question what sizes or how they choose to do it. Whatever makes them the most comfortable.
I did have a nitpick of when he was thrown in Rockies camp. He missed one of the loops with his belt, and it just bugged the heck out of me.
See, that's not quite the same. Unless that's another style choice. Maybe, in addition to large pants, he also doesn't like to loop his belt all the way through.
I like when the waist of my pants starts to bunch up on me.
And it does bunch up. It was bunching up on him last night during the game. But the reason why I bring up the World Baseball Classic is because there's a surprising amount. I think the Rockies have one of the larger numbers of players in this year's World Baseball Classic. And, most of the other guys we've gotten to see at least a little bit in camp. But for Sugano, who we really haven't gotten to watch, it was interesting to see him finally pitch. And he put together a very strong 4 scoreless innings of work. There were some of the concerns that we've had about Sugano since his signing. Lots of contact. He did give up 4 hits, but he kept a very tenacious Australia roster off the board for his 4 innings of work, struck out 2, no walks, commanded the zone very well. It was a pretty promising start for someone we haven't really seen much of.
Yeah, and looking at that box score, it's 50 strikes, 31 or 50 pitches, 31 for strikes. I mean, it's exactly as advertised. It's going to be a guy that pounds the zone, and you know the contact. It can it'll always be an aspect. It doesn't become a problem when it's the big loud contact that's resulting in scattered hits. 4 hits over 4 innings, 1 hit an inning. Yeah, that's not bad. And you get a couple of punch outs, you get some double play balls. Like like you said, it's the not giving up any runs when you're not giving up the really big hits. Didn't give up any extra base hits, so that's promising. And when we see that first outing for him, and of course it's not with Coors Field or any of those factors into it, but just to see him and looking good and whatnot, you're like, okay, like hopefully this can carry over.
Yeah, especially when, I think it's very underrated this year. If you're not watching the Classic, you think, oh, it's just Australia. Australia's been very good so far this World Baseball Classic. They won both of their first 2 pool play games, and they darn near won this one. They kept it very close. They scored first, and it ended up being a 4-3 Japan win. Australia needs to beat Korea to make it into the quarterfinals, but they have been a very tenacious, a good power team as well. They've hit a bunch of home runs so far as well. And for Sugano to go out there, this is really his first start of spring training is
Yeah.
in this leverage situation. It's really nice to see. And it's the same with a lot of other Rockies players who have been in there. Victor Vodnik made a scoreless appearance for Team Mexico, as did Brennan Bernardino. We've had a lot of other guys just playing really well. Really, the 2 disappointing ones so far are Cole Carrig and Edward Julien, who are both hitless so far in this year's tournament.
Yeah, and no, Carrick was doing his thing in spring training, so no, I was don't worry too much about him. But yeah, Julian wasn't too hot in camp itself, and you would like to see him go and play with Team Canada and have a really good performance and kind of shore up his spot with the Rockies. But now at this point, you're like, oh, is Julian even going to break camp with the Rockies? Like, where does he even have a spot? Where can you stick him? But yeah,
Yeah. He has drawn walks, which is good. But, he's 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts and was caught stealing once. Just hasn't really done a whole lot. Granted, there's still more games to play for Team Canada as we continue to go through pool play for the next couple of days. But it's a bummer because I was actually really excited for the Julian acquisition. And I'm on the same page of I don't know if he necessarily breaks camp with the team, where there are just so many other players who are doing better than he is. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the hope was, like you said, he'd come out hot in the tournament like he did in 2023, and we'd go from there.
yeah. I don't know, and it makes you wonder, like, how much do the Rockies weigh that stuff of, oh, they're how do you judge how they're doing in the World Baseball Classic and then translate that to, oh no, it's because of that. Now he's earned his spot with the big league team type, because it's a completely different environment and different ways they're being used and coached. Just even they're in in these their national teams and whatnot. But yeah, you'd like to see him start doing some more stuff, get some more hits.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think it's pretty mixed. I think it matters very much when it comes to pitching, especially the guys who didn't really do a lot of work with the team before they left, like Sugano and like Jose Quintana, who Team Colombia unfortunately now eliminated from the quarterfinals, but Quintana came in and did his job, did exactly what he is advertised to do with not really many bells and whistles, but you recognize that him going out and doing exactly that is important, especially when it's very likely that he's going to be on this starting rotation to start the year.
Yeah, 3 scoreless for Quintana. Now as team captain there for Colombia in their opener, and so that's nice to see out of him because he's another one of those guys where he threw like what one inning in camp with the
Yeah.
Rockies, one start through an inning,
And then was gone.
and then he left and nope, through 3 good solid innings. Guy that just keeps on chugging along.
Yeah,
Same with,
I'm really
I was gonna
enjoying.
say, like, Senzatella, hasn't pitched yet in an actual game, but that I know of, but he pitched in their no exhibition against the Cubs. And what was it, like 3 innings of relief for him that were 3 scoreless innings of relief?
Yeah, and I think you take that into account too, especially for a guy like Senzatela who's fighting for his job. And we'll talk a lot more about Senzatela later on when we're talking about some of these position battles. But overall, I think it's the pitching, especially when the Rockies sent so many pitchers to the World Baseball Classic. It's important to see how they do. Vodnik pitching a scoreless inning for Team Mexico is important because Vodnik had been kind of struggling to start camp in his first few appearances. And it's going to be the same for Michael Lorenzen, who he's now had 2 pretty bad starts with the Rockies in spring training. And now he's off with Team Italy. And you want to see him sort of lock it down and see what he can come back with. Because,
No.
as much as we talked about last week, he talks about, learning from the struggle and stuff like that. But at the same time, you do kind of want to see him start to put it together as we inch closer to the regular season and are trying to figure out what that rotation is going to look like.
Yeah, if you get him into one of the games for Italy, get him in there and he makes a start, to see him in an actual, a meaningful game situation where he's not trying to, force his way into making a changeup work and trying to work on a pitch here and there, but actually seeing him in a legit game speed environment where he's trying to win and compete in a little bit more serious atmosphere. How does he respond in that and whatnot? That's what you want to see.
Yeah, especially when Italy's next game is one of the final games of pool play, like one of the final 6, and they are the last opponent of Team USA.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a tall order, and I'm not sure who's going to be starting that. Based on time, it would make time between starts. It would make a lot of sense for Lorenzen to be making that start, though they have not announced it yet. Going to be really interesting.
Yeah. But otherwise, it's like other guys like Willie Castro just kept doing his thing
Yeah,
for Puerto Rico, which is fun to see. I like Willie. And no, Tovar over with Venezuela.
yeah. Tovar got his first start on the Venezuela roster for the Classic, and went 3 for 3 with a double and a walk. And you look at him and you go, that's Ezekiel Tovar. Looks great. Looks ready to go. Especially when he's been in sort of tune-up mode to start the spring as well, where he hasn't looked great, but you give him the grace of, well, he's the incumbent and he's probably working on stuff. But then to watch him, lock it in this competitive environment where the games matter, because Team Venezuela is taking this very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they want to win this tournament and they are playing like they want to win. That Tovar dials it in, he locks it in, and that's exactly what you want to see. And for Willie Castro to draw a critical bases loaded walk to tie the game for Puerto Rico versus Panama, and then the inning after that makes an incredible out of position pick play at first base.
It could be the Rockies were even like, hey, yeah, work him at first base because we're probably going to do that too.
It's just really nice to see. I'm not trying to dunk on the Rockies, but it's really nice to see Rockies players responding to playing in a very competitive environment. Because let's be honest, over the last few years, how many games have been truly competitive? Not saying that the Rockies don't want to win or anything like that, but when you get to May and you're already essentially out of playoff contention, like last year, you know, there were so many guys where at the end of the season they were done. They were so done because the season was so uncompetitive and they were exhausted and it was long. And so to have them come in and be like, all right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to compete. I'm going to do my best on the field. I love it. And I love the World Baseball Classic too. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's cool to just see the stuff, especially coming off the heels of watching the Winter Olympics and all that stuff, and then to have the World Baseball Classic right there. No, it gives you that nice continue on the Olympic feel.
Yeah. And there's some murmurings of, oh, it's not as good as Olympic baseball. I think Bryce Harper was out here today saying, well, it's not the Olympics and the Olympics are better, but it's like, I disagree entirely. One, because baseball's not really a part of the Olympics anymore. They're making an exception for the 2028 games, and the World Baseball Classic has largely replaced that. But two, it may not matter to him, but it very clearly matters to a lot of these other players who are putting it all out there, wearing their country on their chest.
Yeah, and saw somebody with a video about that on like TikTok or something, where like, yeah, the U.S. the way the U.S. approaches baseball as opposed to all these other countries is baseball is like, oh, you gotta act like you've been here before, and this is business, and you know, and then you look at these other teams that are having a lot of fun with it. Where like I look at a roster with Bryce Harper and Aaron Judge and these guys, I'm like, I don't see them really. They hit a home run and Judge, oh yeah, he shouts after he hits the home run, like yeah, and then as soon as he hits home, he's like, back to business. And so they're just kind of like, yeah, they're a really good team, but it's like, where's the personality?
Yeah.
Where the
And then
other
I look
teams have
at,
like their home run celebrations and
yeah, you look at Team Great Britain, who like does like a passing of the crown and cape with home runs. You look at Italy, who's got an espresso machine in their dugout, or even just the personality of, you look at how crazy things got last night when Puerto Rico walked off Panama in extras,
yeah,
where it's very clear to me, like, the USA stands on business, and I get that. They are the dominant baseball power in the world. But watching all of these other teams where they care so much about this, like Taiwan, like Venezuela, like Puerto Rico, that is what makes the World Baseball Classic special. And if you haven't gotten a chance to watch any of it, I highly, highly recommend trying to get a little bit of that in your system, because it's going to make you happy.
yeah, no, well, fun stuff.
But
Yeah,
that's the World Baseball Classic and the Rockies therein. We're going to take a quick break, and we come back. We're going to come back stateside here and talk spring training. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude. I'm Evan. That's Skyler. We're talking Rockies baseball. And Skyler, for spring training this year, something that was really, really hammered home by President of Baseball Operations Paul DePodesta, new general manager Josh Burns, was healthy competition at pretty much all positions. And now that we're about 2.5 weeks into spring training, do you feel like some of these competitions are starting to sort of round out and we're really getting an idea of who is going to be, even though it is so early in spring training, who is going to be your opening day roster?
yeah, the pieces are falling into place because we're already starting to see the shaving of the roster a little bit. I mean, just here on Sunday, we saw a group of minor league guys get sent to AAA Albuquerque, which there weren't any surprises really in there. But you're going to start seeing more of the shaving off as pieces of the puzzle are falling into place, and as we get some of those guys from the World Baseball Classic coming back and how they fit in, and kind of just giving more shape and view to the roster. And of course, as we see things around the league happen of guys getting dropped off or trades or other moves that happen, yeah, things are coming into focus.
Yeah, and just real quick, so on day of recording, which is Sunday, the gosh, what is it, March 8th? We just had 5 guys get optioned uh, to AAA Albuquerque, and it's no surprises that we're seeing here. It's Wellington Herrera, who ended last year in Double A Hartford. He's very clearly not ready. He's shown some of his stuff, but there was a lot of spraying of his pitches, and just, he's 21 years old. He's probably not ready. Carson Palmquist and Gabriel Hughes, also not super surprising, especially when the Rockies brought in veteran talent for the rotation this year. Luis Peralta finished last year on the big league roster, but he had a pretty tough year overall last year, so that's not really a surprise. And he hasn't really done a ton so far in spring training. Um, and then you've got Sterling Thompson, who was added to the 40 man to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. But he's another one of those guys where, yes, he finished his season in AAA Albuquerque, but he's not really ready yet. And his games so far in camp have kind of showed that, where, I don't think they expected him to be necessarily ready to go this year to open camp. And, he's got stuff to work on.
Yeah. So we're really any surprises in there. It just opens up other questions like got rid of a lot of left-handed options in that bullpen because right now it's what Brennan Bernardino. That's about it of the guy that's on 40 on the 40-man roster to be left-handed reliever. So you're like, are we going to continue the time-honored tradition of no lefties for the bullpen except one guy?
Yeah, I mean, and unless a guy like Adam Lasky or Parker Mushinski make the roster, which I definitely don't think Parker Mushinski is. Lasky might. He's been not bad, honestly. He's not been amazing, but 8 strikeouts in 8 innings from a 28-year-old pitcher is, that's workable, especially when the Rock with no walks, especially, and that's what the Rockies have been really pushing is pound the zone, avoid walks, get your strikeouts in. So I'd say he's a maybe, but yeah, right now the only lefty on the slated to make the active roster out of that bullpen is Bernardino.
Yeah, otherwise it's like, do you use Sean Sullivan? No, is he ready to just be a right-handed or a left-handed reliever? No, a multi-inning reliever type guy?
I have no idea, honestly. It's
Yeah.
really tough knowing what they want to do with Sullivan, because Sullivan, he just cannot get that fastball much up above 90. And I think that might end up being a problem for him. Like, his other pitches look great, but that fastball is rough. And he's had some really good outings so far, and he's had some bumpy ones. So it's just one of those ones
Yeah.
where I don't really know what the plan is for him. And
Yeah.
most of the other lefties that they've had in camp and pitching this year are guys who were never going to make the roster to begin with.
Yeah. So, as we said, stuff coming into view, the roster shaping, but still so many questions around the board. But luckily, there's some positions where, like, hey, actually, not a lot of question here, or a guy make a really compelling case.
Yeah. And I think to start with, we might as well just call it now, in my opinion. I think the matter of third base is pretty settled at this point. Unless he completely collapses throughout the rest of camp, it's going to be Kyle Karros as your starting third baseman. He is having just a phenomenal spring of, he's hitting 471. He's got 2 homers. He's got 3 stolen bases. He looks quick. His glove looks great. You look at him and you go, it looks like he's put in the work. He's put in the improvements from last year, and he came in ready to claim his spot. And that's what he's done.
Yeah, absolutely. And friend of the show, so we had that extra uh, oomph behind him. We'll take credit for it. We'll take credit for it, Evan.
Yeah, this is all
Of
because of
course.
us.
Yeah. He did 99% of the work, but we're that extra 1% that put him over the edge.
Never would have made it without us, without that 20-minute interview he did with us.
Those 2 20-minute interviews. But no, like, so what they wanted was competition, and guys, they don't just want to hand out jobs just because they have to, but for guys to come in and earn it, win their jobs. And that's what we had talked about, near the start of spring training. That's what we wanted, is these guys to come in, and win those jobs. Like, a lot of them have earned it. They've earned that opportunity, but to make it their own, to take, possession of it, take control of it, ownership of a position. And that's what Karros has done.
Yeah.
Well, who knows how much the power will translate? Like, that's going to be a question still, if he can find that power stroke. But that won't matter as much if he continues to hit well, hit the doubles, get on base. That's what he's worked on all offseason. He knew he worked all offseason with the intention, I'm going to be on the big league roster come opening day. And that
Yep.
mentality has carried him into camp, and he's performed well. And he's given the Rockies, he's refused to let the Rockies give that job to somebody else, like a Willie
Yep.
Castro.
Because we were talking about at the beginning of spring training, oh, Willie Castro could probably end up starting at third or whatever. And, it's not to say that Kyle didn't earn getting his call up last year and getting all the reps he did at third base last year, but he really has come in and just grabbed the reins for third base and said, this is my spot. You are not going to take it from me. And that's,
Mm,
the kind of hunger that I think both us and the Rockies front office have really wanted to see, and we've seen it from a couple other position players as well. And, Willie Castro is one of them, where Willie Castro could very well end up being your opening day second baseman. He's been very tenacious so far this offseason and not offseason, this camp, and performed very well. Whereas your guys like Ariel Amador, I'm very much not sold on for how
yeah,
he has performed so far this year.
yeah. And I like to I like to hang my hat on the fact that like I assumed Karros was going to be the opening day starting third baseman. Since the end of last season. Where they could look for it, but I would figure him in. Like that seemed like a pretty easy call for me to make. And then, nice to feel vindicated, Evan, that he goes out in spring training. No, because that's what it seemed like. A lot of the media people, like they'd make their starting day lineups, and it's Julian at first, and we're gonna have somebody else at second, and we're gonna have Tyler Freeman at second, and it'll be Willie Castro at third. But no, your best infield alignment is Kyle Karros at third base. Like he is not only not only a good third baseman, he is the best third baseman this team has. No, at defensively. And so for him to go out and do all that, you're like, justice. I know my baseball.
Yeah. And another guy who, you know, it really locks down that position and basically just takes it out of play when, there are multiple other positions up for grabs. Now, even this early in camp, for you to potentially say, all right, that one's settled is really nice to see.
Well, that and it opens up more opportunities and like more options for Warren Schaefer of like, okay, we can carry Kyle Karros and start him there more often than not. Great. That opens us up to use Willie Castro around a little bit more like they want to. If he can start at second base, they can throw him in the outfield. If Willie's having to start at third base every day, that's not the best use of him. That's not why you brought him in. No, you wanted his ability to just be on the field playing multiple spots.
Yeah.
But
It
you
kind of
locked
takes
him.
away the whole point of bringing in a super utility player.
Yeah, because like, okay, if we're having to start Willie Castro at third, we probably should have done better to bring in a different third baseman free agent.
Yeah.
But
And I think you're also getting to the point where you can start saying that with second base as well of, yeah, Willie can start at second base, but we have another potential option now. And that is, while he's played all over the place, that is how strong of a spring camp so far Ryan Ritter is having.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they've played Ritter all over the place. They've put him at short, they've put him at third, they've started playing him in left field, but you have the option now of having him at second base where he has done some of his best work. But so far this spring, he's stealing bases, he's getting on base. He has an on base percentage of 517 over 26 at bats. He's got a home run. I am really really pleased with what I've seen from Ryan Ritter so far, where he had kind of a tough rookie year after his call up, where I don't know if he was necessarily all the way ready. Then he had that injury where he tore open his finger and had to wait for that to heal, and didn't really have a ton of power. It wasn't a bad season, and he was fantastic defensively, but you just didn't really know where his bat was going to be at. And he's
mhm,
another guy who, like Karros, he was given the homework from Warren Schaefer of go to the weight room this offseason. You need to bulk up. You need to be in better shape. You need to get stronger. And I think we're seeing those results from Ryan Ritter as well. That gives the Rockies even more flexibility of if Ryan Ritter has his roster spot, then that gives you even more room to play with when it comes to either him or Willie Castro. Because, I mean, I'm going to be honest here. I don't think Adel Amador is going to make the opening day roster. And they've shown no indications so far, granted he's only been back for a couple days, of putting Tyler Freeman at second base.
Yeah, it would, like you said, he's just barely back after that slow start to the spring training because of the back issues or whatever. But Freeman enters into that mix well because what little he's played, he's hit like the Tyler Freeman that was hitting last year, which is good. And so yeah, he enters into that mix where there's like three utility guys that can all play second base, can all three play the outfield. And so you're just thinking about the mix and matching that the Rockies do. They're thinking about adding first base to Tyler Freeman's repertoire if needed. It just gives you more options. And like they can all play third base if needed in place of Kyle Karros. But like three guys that are hitting can get those slap hits. You don't, and give you confidence to when they have to start for a rest day for somebody else. That it's not like, there's an automatic out. At least you hope. Of course, it's always spring training. And you always take it all with a grain of salt and don't get fooled by the mirage in the deserts because we all know that happens a lot. But it's
Yeah.
promising. It's awesome to see Ritter taking on the challenge of not only new positions, having to play the outfield and whatnot, but taking on the challenge given to him by Warren Schaefer to just get better at the plate, put all the haters, prove all the haters wrong from the scouting reports and all that stuff.
Yeah. He's always just going to be a glove first infielder. It's like, no, he hits well. And
Yeah.
I again, like, we know this is spring training, and it's possible none of this translates over to the regular season, and that would really stink. But you've got to have at least a little bit of hope as well.
Yeah.
Like, for as much as we say don't believe entirely in spring training stats, at the same time, though, you got to believe in them at least a little, because how miserable would it be to watch people killing it entirely in spring and go, this is all fake. None of this is real.
That's the issue of just how the games are run because every team's working with minor leaguers. Like, yeah, Ryan Ritter is doing really good, but he's only facing pitchers that threw in Double A. You're like, that's the because doesn't Baseball Reference have that metric of like the quality of opponent that they're facing in spring training? There was something
Let,
like that they had
let
introduced a
me
couple years
see.
ago because then it'll tell you like, oh, most of his at bats are coming against guys who are this old or have this much, have only played to this level.
So the average quality of opponent, um, scale from I've actually never looked very closely at this. So it's a scale from 1 to 10. Uh, and number 1 is the quality of opposing pitchers or batters faced. Number 1 is the opposing batter is a pitcher. And then 10 is major league quality. And you look at Ryan Ritter, and he's honestly in line with what pretty much everybody else is doing right now. Ryan Ritter is currently listed with a quality of opponent of 7.1, which is technically between AA and AAA. But at the same time, pretty much every other player is in that between 7 and 8 range. Ezekiel
Yeah.
Tovar is at 7.9, Kyle Karros 7.2, Hunter Goodman 7.9, Braxton Fulford 6.4. It's all fairly even because it's averages. It evens out of,
Yeah.
yes, you're getting at bats against double A pitchers who have never been to Arizona before, but you're also still getting at bats against big league pitchers because big league pitchers are having to get their innings in, and they're getting more and more as spring goes on.
And the thing too that'll be most important is just how guys are doing in those final 10 or so games of spring training when they start having like actual pitch scouting reports. Like the pitchers have them, hitters will have them. When it's a little bit closer to actual, here's what the regular season games will be like. The starting pitchers are going longer. They're looking for their 3 to 5 inning outings, getting settled in. how are these guys performing at that point in a couple weeks, as opposed to now, because up until now, you're still, no, there's the wide range thing as it continues to get more focused in. Is Kyle Karros still doing what he was doing early in camp? Is he still doing all those things right? Is Ritter still doing those things? That's the fun stuff of spring training.
Yeah.
Trying to evaluate everything.
And what's funny is you look at the guys with the highest quality of opponent on the roster right now. You've got guys like Antonio Senzatela, 8.6, Zach Agnos, 8.1, Tanner Gordon, 8.7. All guys who are fighting for jobs here, especially Senzatela. And we'll talk about him in a little bit. But, it's one of those things where you got to find a nice middle ground. It's the same as with analytics is an incredible tool, but it can't be your only focus. Just like your only focus can't be the eye test and grit and stick to itiveness. You got to find your nice happy medium of what to take stock in and what to maybe brush aside a little bit when it comes to spring training.
Yeah. But it's nice to see there that infield is coming into shape. We talked about first base last week. We're like, yeah, you can kind of pencil in TJ Rumfield there. That's kind of like the assumption. And then Castro at second, Tovar at short, Karros at third. Like, it's not a bad infield.
No,
all
not at
things
all.
considered.
Yeah, and right now I feel like we're at the point where now that those questions are getting answered, there are some other questions that we're going to have to talk about, and we'll talk about some of those right after this. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Affected by Altitude. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude with Evan and Skyler, our third and final segment. And Skyler, now that the infield is taking shape, that there are some other questions that I think need to be addressed. And I think the biggest one to start right now is we thought we had a lot clearer of a picture about this rotation at the beginning of spring compared to what we do now, where like outside of Kyle Freeland, who has only made one appearance and only pitched one inning. And to be fair, he had a fine inning against the Murderers Row of Team USA, where he gave up a home run to Aaron Judge.
Who hasn't?
Which yes, who hasn't?
I
But
mean,
at the
we
same
both have.
time, now it's kind of confusing to wonder where we're going to go, because we've had a couple guys who just really haven't been here because they've been in the World Baseball Classic. We've had a couple guys penciled in that don't really look like they might make the cut. And I think we might as well start with the one that we were talking about the other day, which is Ryan Feltner, who is, he's shaking off an injury-riddled season from last year, but he's had a tough spring so far.
Yeah, and I think this all comes down to like about 3 or 4 guys battling for this fifth rotation spot, because we know the other 4, barring any horrible disaster, it's going to be Freeland, Lorenzen, Quintana, and Sugano come opening day. Yeah, Feltner, it's a rough one because he missed so much time. I think last year was his time to really cement himself and not leave questions about his spot with the team. But because of the injuries, it just has set him back so far. And, kind of threw off that rhythm because he hadn't pitched really since like June? Last year he made a couple starts in Albuquerque when he got activated again from the back stuff, and then the shoulder and back flared up on him and just kicked him off for the rest of the season. And so this is his first game action after just missing so much time last year. It's understandable why he's struggling in spring training.
Yeah, and it's tough because you want to see a guy like Feltner win that spot, a guy who's been through so much. You had the fractured skull from that comeback liner, the back issues and arm issues he dealt with last year, and it really was like your last year was his year where it was supposed to be his breakout. It was supposed to be, hi, I'm Ryan Feltner, Colorado Rockies pitcher, and I can make this work. And he started out very strongly. He had 3 very good starts at the beginning of the season, had 1 stinker, immediately turned around and dialed in an absolute, like, 7-inning, 1-run gem, and then the back injury. And then he was out. He was on the 60-day IL, and then he gets assigned to AAA Albuquerque and just did not pitch well at all, and then was shut down for the rest of the season. And I wonder how much of it is it's no doubt a mix of where's his confidence at, where's his body at, of instead of getting a full big league workload last year, he spent so much of it on the shelf. And now there's been a huge change in the Rockies coaching staff and in pitching philosophy. And I'm not sure right now that he would be the number 5 starter on this team.
Yeah, and we know a big indicator for the Rockies in camp is an ability to throw strikes, and he's struggled with that. 6 walks in 5 1/3 innings. He's got 8 strikeouts, so for every strikeout that he's getting, walks probably not far behind. And what, 7 runs on 5 hits. So when he is in the zone, he's getting hit. I know it's like you saying you miss all that time. How much confidence do you have in your back, in your arm? It was like when we saw Austin Gomber, a couple of years ago when he came back from the back thing. He's like, I had to change how I'm throwing because in the back of my mind, it's if I bend the wrong way, I'm going to hurt my back again. And so there's a lot of hurdles, I'm sure, for Feltner dealing with beyond how his pitch is moving, but just the body in general of everything feeling out of sync because you had all these troubles the previous year. That's kind of it's deflating. And so yeah, I think it's going to be tough for him. Oh, he's a guy that's on the bubble. He's been with this team now for 5 seasons, parts of 5 seasons, mostly 4 seasons. And he's on the bubble kind of at this point of what is his role with this team. He's
Yeah.
29 years old.
And at 29 now, he's really only had 1 full season in terms of workload, and that was 2024. And it was a pretty solid season. And it was a season where we were excited to see what he could build off of it. He made 30 starts. He had a 4.49 ERA. He had a FIP of 4.16, above league average ERA plus. And you went, okay, we can work with this. And it looked like to start, it was so promising. And then to have it just all be completely derailed with the rest of the Rockies season. And you wonder how much damage that's going to be to him career wise.
Yeah. I don't know. I always see him in my MLB The Show franchise mode. He's a pitcher that just gets to a point where he's just bouncing around the league. A good pitcher, but he's doesn't seem to be one that you kind of build around. He fortunately becomes a journeyman. And that's kind of where I see his career going. A good, solid career, but a career that where he probably doesn't make his bed for very long in one place.
Yeah. And it's a shame because, you really want to support the guy, but it's just, at the same time, the Rockies are trying to set up this new floor, this new foundation for both pitching and for hitting. And, there are guys, and he's not the only guy who's struggling, especially
Yeah.
after coming back from injury. Seth Halverson has just really been unable to rein in his command, just a ton of walks and given up runs so far this spring. And he's another guy I worry about of, injuries and that interruption of a strong workload causing things to kind of fall apart. And while those guys may lose time or lose a spot, there are other guys chomping at the bit to get a job or to get it back. And for me, it's Antonio Senzatela is very clearly showing he wants his rotation spot back.
I will preface with Senzatella, we've seen him be good in spring training before.
That is true.
And he is a mirage in the desert. Fool me twice. It's shame on me. Fool me 3 times type stuff. So it's like, it's good to see him, but if he does win that 5th rotation spot, that leash is going to be short.
Oh, absolutely.
It doesn't matter if he's learning these new pitches, and no, he could. It's for him to lose. He's in the final year of his contract. I don't believe the Rockies are picking up that club option for next season.
For $14 million, no way.
Yeah, no. You don't even want to be paying the $12 million this year. But if he can prove himself as a good, reliable, reliever or a bridge guy type of stuff, there's a role for him. But you get to a point where you hope maybe you can use him as some trade bait to just get out from under the contract type thing. But that leash has to be short, because come opening day, he's facing the Dodgers, and he goes back to his old ways of, I'm going to throw a fastball. Oh, Shohei Ohtani's hit it 500 feet. So he's one that, like, it's always good to see him perform well. We know what he can do. But will it translate to the regular season? Who knows? That's the hard thing with Senzatella, especially this year, because we know he's trying to do things differently.
Yeah. And it's part of what makes this sort of battle for the fifth rotation spot so strange, because you've got younger guys as well, who some are performing and some are not, who you don't know if they're necessarily ready or what. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen with Chase Dollander. He's been a little bit streaky so far this spring, but overall his numbers on paper aren't too bad through his first three starts. But then you've got to wonder of, okay, well, are they good enough to cement him in and have him be the fifth starter? Or are they going to send him down to AAA to continue working? And in that case, what happens to Tanner Gordon? What happens to Senzatella? What happens to Feltner? You've essentially got four guys all fighting for one spot, because regardless of what happens with Lorenzen this spring, he's being paid $9 million. So long as he doesn't get hurt, he's going to be in that rotation. And we know Sugano and Quintana are probably also both going to be in that rotation, as well as Kyle Freeland. So you've got all these guys fighting for one spot. And frankly, I have no idea how it's going to shake out at this point.
And then you have Thomas Harding writing like, oh, the Rockies could just end up carrying them all in the bullpen. Anyway, and you're like, what? Oops, all starters in the bullpen. So yeah, there's guys. I'd say Dollander would have a good chance, but he's the most unrefined of them all. Probably has some of the best talent, raw talent out of them all. Because first round pick, 9th overall, all that good stuff. But a little erratic, unrefined, and could benefit from more starts down in Albuquerque to really work in the Rockies' new philosophy system and whatnot. But yeah, obviously because you like Tanner Gordon, he's got some good stuff. We saw what he can do, but he's also unrefined to a lesser extent than Dollander. I don't know. It's a dilly of a pickle, as they say.
And with Gordon, it's even more kind of strange to try and place where he's going to be at, because he has had, in honesty, he's had an excellent spring so far, and he's actually got one of the higher quality of opponent scores that any Rockies pitcher has faced. But at the same time, unless we have a really good insight into some of the work he's put on this offseason, Gordon is a little bit of a known quantity in terms of where he's at, in that he has some very, very good starts and he has some very, very bad ones in terms of streakiness. And we saw some of his very, very good starts last year, and we saw some of his very, very bad ones. He was more refined than a guy like, say, Bradley Blaylock, who is no longer with the team, and put together some very good starts against very strong opponents. But at the same time, he's 28 compared to some of these other younger guys. And I know that the Rockies have an older rotation this year, but pretty much everybody is on a 1-year deal or nearing the end of their contracts, except for, Dollander, Feltner, Gordon. That's really it. So it's just, I have no clue. I legitimately don't.
Yeah. And that's why you have spring training, so they can try and figure those out. Maybe a couple weeks left. But I honestly could see them just, Senzi, you've earned your spot back. Here you go. Because there's other guys we want to put in the bullpen. Because I think some of the rotation stuff too is contingent on how they want to craft the bullpen. Of there's guys in there that you mentioned Seth Halverson. He's struggling. Does he? Does he have to get sent down to AAA to iron some things out to start the season? Entirely possible. And okay, we want to bring John Brebbia onto the roster with us. Okay, we have to add him to the roster and all this stuff. No, Jaden Hill. There's a lot of stuff you got to figure out of these other moving pieces and how you craft that bullpen. Because then if it turns out, we're short some pitchers. Okay, we can carry Feltner, we can carry Gordon, we could carry multiple of these guys that were fighting for that rotation spot and continue the battle into the regular season.
And you could even consider, and I don't know if they do this, and I'm not even sure if they should, but a 6-man rotation.
Be interesting.
It's the Rockies have themselves in a very weird spot right now where by this point they were supposed to be full on into their youth movement. And now, instead of pursuing that youth movement, because there's so much talent that has to get reevaluated, the roster's actually got significantly older on the pitching side. We have all these old men in their mid to late 30s on the rotation. John Brebbia, I do think, makes the final roster at this point, and that leaves fewer spots for the younger guys. But then you also have to determine if these younger guys are necessarily the future of the organization.
And you have to figure out, okay, are we going to keep RJ Pettit on the roster with us? I don't know. He's going to have to dial some things in before the end of camp.
And RJ Pettit might even be a non-factor because he left with trainers during his last appearance. And there is nothing confirmed yet, but there is a concern that he needs Tommy John surgery.
Dun, dun. Do we get a refund from the Tigers?
I believe what happens in that case, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, is that basically he would go on the 60-day, and this year doesn't count towards that Rule 5 pick, but then next year when he is healthy, as soon as he is activated, then you would have to keep him on the roster.
Interesting. Yeah. A lot of pitching stuff.
It is a lot of pitching stuff, but isn't that the age-old question when it comes to Rockies baseball? Is what do you do with the pitching?
Have they tried just getting really good pitchers?
They tried one time.
I don't think they tried hard enough.
Frankly, and I'll ride that horse again. I still don't think they gave Mike Hampton a fair shot. They signed into an 8-year deal, and they cut bait 2 years in.
Well, Mike Hampton also didn't give them much reason to keep him around.
I think he showed potential.
In the first season, that 6.15 and the ERA in the second season, not so much.
Hey, Silver Slugger, though, and All-Star.
That doesn't help on the pitching side of things, though.
It's fun, though.
Your pitcher being a better hitter than he is pitcher is not something to boast about.
I mean, you say that now, that might end up being a problem with Michael Lorenzen this year.
Michael Lorenzen, how many at-bats do you think Michael Lorenzen's going to get this year?
At least one. I do think he gets at least one at-bat.
Yeah, it's going to be no more than 5.
What if he hits a home run in all 5 of them?
Great.
They have to bring back the Silver Slugger for pitchers, just for Michael Lorenzen.
But, yeah, I don't know. People, no. Can we also, this is a plea out to the world of social media, can we stop saying, is Michael Lorenzen going to be a two-way player every time a pitcher is swinging a bat?
Yeah,
they did that. Somebody did that with Brennan Bernardino recently too. I'm like, it helps him loosen up.
Yeah, a two-way player is a very specific and very rare thing.
Ohtani is one of one.
Yes, there are pitchers who like to hit. Erman always loved to hit. He was not a two-way player. I would not put Erman at like first base or something like that, or as a DH. He was a pitcher who liked to hit and could occasionally get some results.
Yeah. But every time you see a pitcher pick up a bat and make a swinging motion, no, it does not mean he's going to be a hitter that season.
Yeah. A lot of guys just, like you said, like to do it to warm up. It gets your muscles stretched out. It's like, I'm not a great hitter. I like to go to the batting cage and swing a bat. Am I the next great two-way player?
I don't know. Have you tried?
Yes, it didn't go well.
But the Pioneer League will have tryouts down in Arizona next month.
I am too old for the Pioneer League, Skyler.
You can go play.
Yeah, they're going to want a 35-year-old with no professional baseball experience.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Tell you what, well, we'll give it a try and we'll make it be podcast. How about we both have to go?
Nah, I'm going to be busy.
I'm busy that day. Oh, with what? I don't know, but I'm busy.
I know. I'll come up with something.
Well, I think on that note, that's going to do it here for us on Affected by Altitude. Thank you so much for listening as we continue the inevitable march towards the 2026 regular season. Skyler, where can the folks find you at?
You can find me yawning on this podcast. We can also find me on Twitter at Skyler Timmons or on Blue Sky S Timmons13, WSKY on social. And writing the old Wednesday rock piles at purplerow.com.
You can find me on Blue Sky at Evan Lang 27.bsky.social. Would love to hear from you. I am currently on a little bit of a sabbatical from some of my writing duties on Purple Row. We'll hopefully be resuming those as the regular season gets underway, but I'm still doing things like game threads and have been putting up our game threads for the World Baseball Classic. So if you want to talk with some of our commenters about those, please feel free to check them out. Remember that you can find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on all of your favorite podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. If it has podcasts, you can find us on it. Remember that you can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms, including youtube.com, where you can catch the video version of the show at Rocky Mountain Rooftop. That's at ROCKY Rooftop. And on our Blue Sky and our Instagram, I've been experimenting with posting some lineup cards for our games. So let me know what you think of those.
And I post them on Twitter when I remember to.
I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
But Skyler, anything else you want to talk about before we hit the old dusty trail?
Do I have to hit the old dusty trail?
No. You can hit the regular trail.
Well, currently Ryan Miller is pitching on the mound in the top of the ninth in a 3-3 ball game. So there we go. It's just quietly watching. That'll be the rest of this podcast.
And he got Carter Keyboom to line out softly.
He's still around.
Yes.
Good grief. Give up, Keyboom. It's never going to happen.
I always liked, I did once in it was a franchise mode in MLB The Show. I ended up with Anthony Benboom, former Rockies farmhand, and Carter Keyboom, and I called them the Boom Brothers. That was fun.
Oh, Tulowitzki is back in MLB The Show 26.
Coming to consoles this week if you pre-order and pay extra money.
I'm good. I can live those 3 days of not playing online because I don't play online anyway. But they did update the. I know we're running long. We were going to end the show, but we got to talk about this real quick.
We were so close.
We're so close, but they made some changes to franchise mode, which is awesome. You can finally do more than just 3-for-3 player trades. You can actually go up to 4 players now. You have an extra trade slot. And so you can do like big 8-player packages swaps, which is really nice because it got annoying when you could only do trade 3 guys.
And they added more high schools and colleges that you can play for.
That does nothing for me. I don't care about the college.
We're such great.
Make college baseball game.
I would actually legitimately like a new NCAA game. I enjoyed those 2 PS2 games very much. And they had a very, very fun stadium creator where you could just make ludicrous nonsense, and it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. But also, hopefully, I don't know if they did, but hopefully they updated the contract system back to what it was, because the big board stuff was not it for 25.
Yeah, there was a lot of
Be-
things in 25 that I think were just, this ain't it,
because
chief.
it took away an inability to, like, they update where you can, like, actually do negotiations for some stuff, which would be nice. But, like, the fact you couldn't do options, you couldn't backload or front load contracts. The computer could, but you couldn't. Was very frustrating. But
we'll
that'll be
see.
nice.
We'll see how good
We shall
franchise mode
see.
is in like a week and a half, probably.
Yeah, because
Skyler, I expect you to have the full report.
but I have to wait until the game goes on sale.
We can expense it.
Oh, I only have to play it for the podcast, though.
No, this is what we put out the Patreon for.
Yeah.
Whoever buys Skyler a copy of MLB The Show is our number one patron.
And specifically has to be for the Switch version.
Ugh. They should have just made a Focus Switch 2 port. But we've already run long, and we were so close to having this at exactly an hour, and now we're at an hour and 5+ minutes. So, Skyler, I think it's about time that you hit him with it.
Farewell. This has been Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast with Rocky Mountain Rooftop, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. Catch new episodes every Monday on wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to follow us on YouTube as well for video versions of the show.